This will essentially be a all you can reveal, really behind the scenes of our minds, what we're thinking about, very relevant to exactly what's going on in the lawyer space. So if you are a lawyer, you should definitely watch this. This to be really relevant. Hamid, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, sure. Hi, Sam. Hamid Kahan, President and CEO of Libusoft, and known Sam for a long time, and happy to be here.
Great, Hamid. So today what we did is it just came up with a list of topics for us to talk about. Again, all of these are super relevant for what's going on and what's happening in the legal market. And the first is the biggest elephant in the room, which is AI. So the first question is, how is AI going to really impact what's happening in the legal field, and how is it going to change the legal field for us?
I think it's going to make a major impact. It's not only on the legal side, but everything else. But on the legal side, it's going to be a major impact on anything transactional. So all of those attorneys out there who have transactional practices like immigration, family, estate planning, and so forth, they're in for the surprise. Because a lot of those filling out the forms, collecting data, submitting it, and so forth, is going to be taking over with AI. On the other side, on the litigation side, the access to information is going to be huge. Because instead of going and trying to do a traditional discovery, where you actually go look for the stuff one piece at a time, the AI is going to collect everything for you, tabulate it, aggregate it, analyze it, and give it to you. So if you're thinking of any kind of associates or paralegals or case managers, the AI is going to take over all of that and give you a wide range of information very accurately and very quickly.
I've noticed like when a new disruption happens, people always either first is question it, and there's some doubts. A lot of people challenge it. How do you feel that will pan out? Right now, I feel like we're in that kind of curious kind of stage with some kind of doubt. Also, that here's a lot of people are challenging it. People are already like looking for the reasons why it won't work out. So how do you feel about that?
It's the exact same thing that happened in the .com era. A lot of people questioned it. Why do we need all of this? Why need everything to be online? There was a lot of supporters, a lot of advocates, but look, we're here now, we live off of .coms and not much of other things above that. It has the same impact when you're hiring a paralegal or associate or attorney. Nobody's perfect, but they learn over time. So the paralegal comes in and makes a whole lot of mistakes that you're correcting. But the time it takes for them to get it right and perfect and get there is much longer than the AI does because it's a machine learning. So it's much faster. I'm sure they make mistakes right now. The information might not be 100% accurate and everybody's sort of looking at it very closely to see if it's going to get there much quicker than anybody expected.
Totally. By the way, something I just realized, and again, all going with the things done isn't perfect. I forgot to introduce us together as who we are together in our relationship. So let me share my story of how I got to meet Hamid about 4 or 5 years ago when I kind of figured things out about how to generate clients. I basically made a hit list of all the personal injury lawyers that I knew in town, and one by one, I basically scheduled meetings to go in person. And one of those clients was actually a law firm that Hamid was consulting. And we basically started working together. And Hamid, you want to explain pretty much at that stage what were you doing for the law firms?
Sure. I was doing more management consultation to try to reform a practice and optimize it and streamline it, implement a lot of technologies in there, almost like a remote COO kind of a position. And that's how I got involved with that practice.
At that point, basically, it was a law firm that was trying to figure out how to take this law firm and take it to the next level and really scale. And I feel like it was missing a lot of systems, a lot of key important team members, a lot of marketing. And what was the growth that you were able to help them with?
We pretty much in the first year reduced the cost by about 35%, and we doubled the size of the firm in 1 year.
And it was already a pretty big firm, so to be able to double that, especially it's already been running for, I believe, a while.
Yeah, it was about 10, 11 years old firm that was in a field of a PI, personal injury, and they were growing to a steady pace like everybody else, but we wanted to sort of double it, whatever it is, and it was a bit of a challenge, but it was doable, and the following year did the same thing. But it was two factors: reduce the cost and increase the volume.
Great. And then during that time, we were working together. I was kind of essentially one of the marketers that would generate clients. And at the time, do you remember those conversations? It was basically I was in charge of generating leads, and then the leads would go to the teams, the intakers, to sign them up, and then I would get feedback that we only signed up 6 clients. I'm like, 6 clients? What are you guys talking about? You guys got like 80 calls. You got the 40 contact form submissions and this many calls, and that means your conversion rates are they're not where you want them to be. And we had this ongoing kind of battle where I felt like I was doing my job, but at the same time, I'm saying, no, do my job because you're getting the leads. The person on the phone is not signing them up. That experience and why is that important for law firms?
Absolutely. I did agree with you because I was looking at the numbers and the numbers didn't make any sense. So we start troubleshooting and finding out what is happening after the lead is generated and where's the deficiencies in the process. Number one was a disciplined, organized process to reach out to the clients. Making a couple of calls, a couple of emails, we're not doing it. And doing it in the 9 to 5 hours wasn't doing it. Not being a bilingual was not working. So we started looking, okay, we need 24/7 trained intake specialists that are bilinguals and they're incentivized for the firm to be retaining clients. So we started implementing one by one. We put technology in there. When the link comes in, automatically gets responses of the text, emails, calls, track every call, track every lead, and then see how the conversion is and making sure we have bilingual intake trained staff dealing with the leads. So that's how it turned around.
And there was a multifaceted. It was trained intakers who was a cadence to how many times that this should be called and texted. There was also a lot of automation software that was used to be able to automatically text the leads and call the leads. And all that stuff essentially led to actually, can you share what you do now? And what one of your many companies do?
Absolutely. So one of the challenges was, okay, I need all of these people. I need them trained, but it needs to be also affordable and available. And at the time, it wasn't. It was expensive, not available, not to sustain. So we started looking at the virtual staffs that can do the same thing with a lot lower cost and a lot more availability. So we started employing virtual legally trained staff from overseas and deploying to these positions, probably about 25% of the cost. So that's when Libusoft and visual staffing came about, because we started from trained intake specialists and then went to case managers and then paralegals, and now we do attorneys and demand writers, because all of those resources are much better available and disciplined overseas than they are in the US.
Can you repeat that question, because you turned the air off and it was like really bad? So how did Libusoft come about? Sorry, but that's a good one, an important one. I don't want to lose that because of the air flowing.
No problems. And then how did that turn from that problem? How did that turn into pretty much what you do now as part of one of your many companies?
Sure. So what we did with Libusoft when we were doing consulting, one of the challenges was finding the people who are trained, dedicated, and reasonable in cost to be able to fill out these positions to do the higher level of conversion. So we started recruiting from overseas, training them to be intake specialists in personal injury or employment or other practice types, and then deploying them into the law firms and be able to do a 24/7 intake specialist bilingual that is affordable. And that's how we started, and now we have expanded it into case managers, paralegals, demand writers in 15, 20 different practice types. So that's how Libusoft actually expanded because of solving that problem.
And you mentioned the affordability, which is like, let's just say about 1/4 the price or maybe even more. But it's not just about the affordability, it's also about the headache saved. So what's the difference in having in-house people that you hire in-house as employees versus these contractors, virtual assistants that are able to basically work on your own schedule and be able to potentially even, in our experience, that they could actually perform even better. So what are those kind of challenges?
Absolutely. The first one is availability. I have law firms who call us and say, I need 12 intake specialists in 2 weeks. There's no way to do that locally, number one, but we do it because we have offices in 8 different countries and we recruit 300 people a day. So we have a massive amount of applicants.
So to stop right there, so that one, again, if you're a law firm owner, it's something that I think all of us deal with, is that we have plenty of work that needs to get done, but we just can't find the people. So if you find yourself in that situation where you need people to just get stuff done, one is the kind of at the whim of essentially ordering a key staff member that could be done within how fast can
we can replace them within 48 hours or so. And I make a joke with one of our clients where now has about 42 staff from us, from virtual staff, and says, hey dad, this is not like a pizza place where you can just call pizzas with extra cheese on it. It's a little bit of time to get them, but year and a half, he's been able to place 42 staff in his organization. He's either a personal injury firm, and he's using it for intake, document collections, case managers, a variety of different things.
And the funny thing is, I always saw this as like, always is a market of anything in life, products, services, people. And the market in the past decade and now it's so shifted towards being higher, that there's a lot more volume of these people, and the need is not need, at least what people are requesting is much less than that. When do you imagine where this shift could happen, where pretty much what happened to now in-house employees or workers in the US, where now there'll be so much more demand than there are? So at that point, I can imagine, I could at least foresee it. And my question is to you is when there'll be wait lines of people waiting, like, Hamid, I need 10 takers, and like get back in the line, because there's at least it's probably 60 other law firms that have requested sending as you. It's the same as the personal injury lawyers are asking. I need to generate leads. Like, great. So do you and 300 people that are in the city with us. So when do you imagine that could happen?
We have the exact same problem that we are dealing with the law firms to scale. We have to scale just the same way. And we started recruiting and having offices in 2 countries, and now we are in 8. We're probably going to be in 12. So we're just tapping on more resources in more countries that we're going to be recruiting and placing. It's the same style of the scaling that the law firm needs to do. And you're absolutely right. There are some firms like mass tort firms where they just run a campaign and they want 35 intake staff tomorrow. So we got to be able to fulfill those. So we always have a great team of recruiters, onboarding staff, and so forth to be able to meet those demands. And you're right. People were looking before to get 1 virtual staff to help them. Now they look at the organization and say, no, I think like I need 8. And almost everybody who taught with us that is the one would do it. Our average staffing in this law firm is 3.5 staff per law firm. So,
and if you fast forward in 6 months, I'm sure it'll be like 5 or 6. And then in fast forward a year later, it'll be above 10. So
we're moving to something you always talk about, the virtual law practice, that's basically the direction we go. Almost doesn't matter the size of the firm. You only need local attorneys, and everything else can be outsourced. And that's why you go to complete virtual that you always talk about in your sessions, that you can go there. And we have plenty of firms right now that are completely virtual.
And even the attorneys could be potentially virtual too. How do you see like lawyers being, does it have to be in-house?
The licensed attorney practicing in that state, that practice type, yes, is a must.
And why is that?
Because they need to be licensed here to be able to sign the retainers, do the court appearances, write the motions, do the depositions, and so forth. But any preparation before that, like getting prepped for a deposition, a mediation, or whatever like that, they usually get an associate attorney to do it. Well, we have attorneys overseas that have been practicing for 10, 15 years, that they can do all of that work for less than $3,000 a month full time. And they're available. So that makes a big difference.
That's a major disruption that's happening as we speak. And you guys are like the frontiers of actually bringing this to the market. So yeah, that is super interesting. Going back to our AI, actually, before we take our AI, let's take a little break. I told Hamid this show is meant to be kind of more informal, again, more the kind of meaning of the brains. And hopefully from this, you guys will get not just amazing ideas, but just keep up to date with exactly what's going on in the legal space. Just to give you guys my background, I've been able to focus on the business development and marketing side of law firms, and pretty much became an expert at generating clients, and also creating the systems on the back end to be able to not just sign them up, but also take them on. Sometimes we generate them, and we're able to pass them off to our partners and pretty much roll that way. Also, at the same time, 3 years ago, we started with Hamid to give me a clear vision where it's very obvious that law firms need a lot of help, because I realized I was a law firm owner. I need a lot of help myself. And then when you started kind of mentoring me and giving me guidance, like, wait a minute, this is so valuable. Just from a 5-minute, 10-minute conversation, you're giving me pieces of nuggets that took you 30, 40 years to figure out yourself. And now you're just, by one line, you're able to pass it off to me, which not only does it save me 10 years of time, but also potentially hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars. Like, that is so valuable. So first of all, cheers to being an amazing friend. Thank you, and a great partner and a great mentor. So yeah, during that time, I kind of opened up my eyes. I'm like, what if I start mentoring people too? And what if I could actually mentor people on a more scalable fashion? And that's what it really bloomed to Legal Funnel. Legal Funnel is basically a program to help lawyers create funnels, hire virtual assistants, some stuff with automations. And then with the 2 years of that, 2.5 years of that, during that time, I also learned that there's a lot bigger picture than just funnels and just client generation and virtual assistants. I realized, wait, there's a lot more to it. So we made a program a lot more encompassing to essentially it became law firm mastery, to become a master at running your law firm, building your dream law firm, however you like it. A lot of people feel like they're confined to, I need to run it this way, it needs to be like this way because that's the way that my boss taught me. And I realized, again, with getting good guidance and being exposed to these concepts, and now you could actually run it however way you like. And you also, you yourself, you could focus on the stuff that you would like to do. Everybody's born different. Everybody has different specialties in life, and everybody has different interests. What if you like talking to clients? What if you only talk to clients and everything else is delegated? And that really lost into what it is now, My Legal Academy. My Legal Academy is essentially just a community, number one community for lawyers. And the past year, I've been able to build an organization behind it with a whole team and infrastructure behind it. We have a COO, a sales manager, a support managers, and a whole bunch of team members below these departments. And now our focus is to build out this platform to not only be focused, again, on the community, but also bring other instructors on. So that it's not just me, but also a bunch of everybody who's great at their fields, be able to provide the guidance, but also be able to, for us to be able to train the law firm team members, which is at the level, it's something that actually Hamid's a part of, which we'll reveal later. And also we realize that, there's more topics than just business growth. Business growth and law firm growth is very important, and it's crucial, obviously, for everybody to be financially free. But also, what if we also talk about health? What if we talk about lifestyle, saving money in taxes, our futures, insurance, and all the other things that are also very, very crucial, mental health, a lot of other things. So over time, and this year, we're expanding into those markets and serving our clients in that way. So yeah, if anybody has been following me on this journey, I hope you'll be able to continue this journey with us, because we have a lot more to provide value, and this little community is going to really blossom. And Hamid is a big part of that, because both of us, not only do we talk on a daily basis, literally for the past almost 3-4 years, we've been talking on a daily basis. He has his own legal companies, multiple legal companies. They've all grown so exponentially, and I've been able to witness it from day one to what it is now, and I can't imagine what it will be in a year. But one of the main reasons why Hamid is successful is you have a Silicon Valley background. Can you give a short little summary of it, and we'll tease people, and then maybe we'll do an episode of just about our backgrounds. But for now, just give a little short gist of your background of Silicon Valley.
Absolutely. So yeah, I started my career in Silicon Valley when I was 17 years old. I finished my engineering degree when I was 17, and I got recruited to Silicon Valley. So started working before there was internet, and worked for some great companies: Sun Microsystem, Compaq, HP, Hitachi, and several great companies working with a great group of people. And you learn a lot when you're working with Silicon Valley in the high tech. There's really a learning part where if you pay attention and just not be a worker and just pay attention, is invaluable that how much talent is there and how much you can get. One of those things was there's no limitation to how big you can get, how many more services and clients you can have, and not just being bounded to the state, to one country, to one continent, nothing like that. So you learn how to do that. You learn to build a lot of people around you, because it's nothing up there works as a one-man shop. Everything is a group and a growing expansion. Like in Sun Microsystem, when I joined, it was a private company with like 200 staff. When I left, we were about 14,000. So we were hiring like on the fly, because we needed people to grow the business. So, and then I got my MBA there, and I got recruited to come to LA after 20 years and was involved in some high-tech companies here. I was involved in the public company, which I was the president of. And I started growing my own ventures in our own companies. And then we are here with a Libusoft now after several years. But one of the things always people ask, the value of that Silicon Valley is discipline, the structure, and the vision, which became tremendous help working with the legal industry. Because my first exposure to legal industry was everything limited. I always make a joke to say, if you leave the attorneys alone, they still be looking at their fax machines with their pagers and waiting for the next fax to come in so they can get paid. The scalability wasn't there. There was always limitation. I only do personal injury in California and this market, and only in Southern California, and all of that. I keep saying, what does that mean? I mean, it just, from where I come from, it was like, we look at doing things in other planet, and now they're limited to one state. So that's how this all grew, so that we can expand, grow, think big, implement it, have discipline, trust in people, hire your team. Don't be afraid of expansion. Don't be afraid of technologies. And these are all the tools for you to be able to expand and grow. And that's, I think, contributes to a lot of the success of my own company and everybody I was involved with. Just like working with you, originally everything I said to you was like, we need to do 10x more. My thing out of my mouth always was, we can do 10x, 100x. Why not? Why are we looking so? And you were able to implement all of that. So when you mentioned about being mentoring, it is a shared environment. I can give an idea, I can do the mentoring, I can share the process, but if still other person is not able to implement it and scale it and follow the recipe, it's not going to work. Doesn't matter if I give them a cure to cancer. If they can't implement it, it's not going to go anywhere.
Great topic to rest on, because let's talk about this. The implementation of advice. People join our program with, some people have a hard time figuring out what our program is when they join. But the best way that I could explain it is resources, accountability, check-ins, community, kind of multifaceted way to get you to the success. But ultimately, it requires that law firm owner and the lawyer to be able to implement everything that's shared and all the resources that are there waiting for you. And that's something that I was also very cognizant of very early on. I'm like, when are you gonna? It was very early. Like, when are you gonna do this stuff for me? And again, very early on, like, wait a minute, everything I have to do, and I accepted it very early on. Everything is shared for me to do. Not what are you doing for me? What's the expectation for me? All that stuff, I dropped the expectation. It was always up to me. If it's to be, it's up to me. It's one of my favorite quotes. If it's to be, it's up to me kind of mentality. How crucial is that for people to understand that for success, that accountability, that self-accountability versus just expecting things to be done for you the way that you want it to be?
I always get asked that, because for those people who know me and who know the people around me, like yourself and a few other people that we work with, and they always ask, how did they do it? How did you do this for them? That's always I get asked. You explode them. You blow them up. You did a 10x on them. And I said, no. It has nothing to do with that. I give an idea. I give the discipline. If they execute it, they win. If they don't, my ideas goes to waste. So it's really about the execution. You're one of those folks where whenever we talk about a concept, idea, process, anything, you got it and you went and executed it and you brought back great results. The firms that they do that, it works really well. Every time on one of your webinars where you're talking to hundreds of attorneys at a time, I always look at the audience and say, I'm sure Sam is giving them right ideas, is guiding them to right direction. I look at it and say, maybe 80% of them got it. I wonder how many percentage of them are going to actually be able to do it, because they need to be focused, they need to be disciplined, they need to take it serious. If you're going to the doctor and getting a prescription, you better go to the pharmacy and fill it and take the medication. If you don't, you just wasted your time and the doctor's time. It's the exact same thing with what we do. If you get the recipe, you got to be able and committed to get it done, and not just sort of, yeah, it makes all the sense in the world. I should do it. I could do it. I will do it. And then you go home and get busy with your next client and next case and so forth. And then you miss another 2 years.
And is this something that somebody could get better at or trained or something that through like a bootcamp experience they could get better? Or is it something that it is what it is and just accept that this person is not an implementer or is not a doer?
It's a discipline and the continuously getting it and being on track with it. So people who come to like one-time consultation with me, they just get blown away for that session. Great. But if they don't do anything, they don't come back and say, I did this, what's next, then it's not going to work. It's almost like getting a trainer when you go to the gym. One session with a trainer is not going to do you nothing. You really wasted your time and your money getting the first session with a trainer. But if you stay long enough with this trainer, where now you build the habit and the discipline to do it, then you don't need that trainer anymore. You don't need it as frequent. But in the beginning, whatever program, like when they enrolling into your program, the legal funnel, they can't just show up and go. They need to complete the entire process. And after that, they need to be checked out to make sure they're actually on track with it. Nobody gets fixed. No, everybody's looking for shortcut. Just give me one idea, one concept, and I'm just going to blow it up. It doesn't work like that. It needs continuous effort.
And that's exactly, I think, why we switched over. The beginning was like 6 modules. Then we were like, wait a minute, it's not about the modules. Okay, maybe we'll make it like a 2-month program, then a 3-month program. Now we actually made it a continuous program, something that you're actually part of. And it really ties into the identity and this continuous mindset, where it's not one thing as you shared. It's just a continuous grinding and chipping away. You get one thing that you implement from here, another thing from here, another thing from here, and then you look back after 6 months or 12 months, you realize, wait, all that stuff, a little chipping away, kind of added up. What's one trait that you think is necessary for success? That like this one thing, if you don't have this one thing, then you won't be successful.
Discipline. If you don't have the discipline, then you're not focused. If you're not focused, things are not getting done, and things are not getting done in an efficient way. So if you have a discipline, and then you also have mentorship. Mentorship is required if you want to go really high speed. You need the guidance and you need the discipline to actually follow through with the guidance. Even if you're writing instruction book, if you don't follow that discipline and that is instructions that you just read the book about, it's still not going to work. So the discipline is number one.
And for me, I would say resilience. Resilience means you're going to come back and come back and come back and try again, no matter how many times it takes until you get whatever you want in life. Those resilient people are the ones that always end up as the winner. The people who only try once, twice, and then 3 times and give up after that, never get anywhere. And those people eventually will get burned out and kind of be left in the dust. Plenty of people like that. We look for the resilient players. And for us, I think we look for those resilient people. We could just tell from their characteristics who are those people that would be successful. One piece of advice for somebody who has been kind of they feel stagnant. So what's one piece of advice you would give to somebody who has kind of feels stagnant, where they're not really happy with the way that things are going in their life? What's one advice you give them to help them create the momentum that they need to be able to take and go to the next level?
Sure. The first thing is to have a plan. Don't do an ad hoc implementation of what you're trying to do with your practice.
And what is that plan? The plan, your plan. Write it on paper, or where
everything has to be written down. The plans are not visual that way. You have to write it down. Everything has a due date. Everything has a deliverable. If it doesn't have an amount or a date attached to it, it doesn't exist. So everything has to be on the budget and the deadline to deliver it. And it starts with when I talk to some of the new attorneys that come on board, and I ask them what you practice, and they name 5 different practice areas. After the second one, I just stop them. I said, wait. You can't do that. You'll be lucky if you can implement one properly as a practice. So I will tell them, focus on one practice only. Don't try to do 5 things, because 5 people call you and says, can you do an employment case for me? Can you do a family case for me? Can you do personal injury? And they say yes, and you can't do that. So that's always the first advice. Pick one and stick to it.
And I call those people opportunity lawyers. It's whatever the opportunity is. Yes, I got a call for this type of case. Yes, I could do this client. Yes, I could make $5,000 from this client. But you got to also ask yourself, at what cost? Yes, you can make that $5,000 off that client, but during that time, you could have been making a system that could make you $20,000 a month from one particular practice type. A lot of people don't think about at what cost part, but they only look at what's in front of them, which is that one client.
They get tempted because it's money. They're solo practitioners. They want the money, but they don't know what the cost is, just like what you said. They don't know that how it takes their focus away. And then also it's misleading the public. You're an attorney, but you're an attorney of certain practice type. You're not the employment attorney if you're a PI attorney. If you're a PI attorney, you're not a workers' comp attorney. So you have to be able to distinguish that and be able to state the discipline around it. So that's one of the advice. Write a plan, stick to your plan, focus on one practice area, and don't be afraid of change or technologies.
And something I will share is very practical is have someone to speak to, somebody who is outside of you. It's very hard to be able to grow if it just depends on you, because for some reason we're all so limited minded. What we think we're capable of is what we think it is, until someone comes and says, no, actually, what about this angle? What about this bigger vision? What about this other thing? So having somebody who's a little bit has a broader vision or is ahead of you in that certain field or whatever it is, that will really give you the clarity. And then another practical advice I would say is based on that person's advice is start off your day with that advice. A lot of people would say, I'm going to do that at 4 p.m. Wrong time to be doing the most important thing that would probably make them the needle for you the most. So start off your day with that. And not only is it easier for you, actually, when you think about it, it's all about perception. It doesn't have to be that hard, that one thing that will make you the most money or help you grow the most. Start with that. That will really build the momentum for the rest of the day and prioritize. Another question? Yeah, Hamid.
I want to add one more thing to that. In the legal industry and also the medical industry, because I had some experience with that too, people tend to be very interested to find out what everybody else is doing so they can copy it or follow it. Constant follow is even if the guy is falling off the ditch, they want to follow him and fall off the ditch.
Whenever it's have you seen what this person is doing, or the screenshots of the settlements and things like that? The trap of comparison.
Absolutely. The common question I get asked is that when they know I'm working with a successful firm, says, what does he do? How does he do it? I don't reveal it, but I'm just what do you care? You've got to find a way that works for you, what works for you. And looking for things that people haven't done so you can do. Not just following the same path of everybody's doing. And it gets very frustrating because, again, with my background, we always try to find out what is not done and go create, invent, and innovate and get that done because nobody else has thought about it, nobody else has done it. So that's the whole high-tech industry. And then you come to the environment where everybody wants to follow each other, almost like to the teeth, 100%. It's like, go here, buy leads like this, handle it like this, work it like this. It's like a complete copy, which is, to me, is completely wrong.
Right? Something I would say that you brought up is like people copying each other. I realized something recently, Hamid, is that in order to not be copied, make it hard to not be copied, be uncopyable. And the best way is kind of your results. Let your results speak for themselves. It's very hard to copy results. So, lead with your client results and you'll be uncopyable. What's one piece of relationship advice? Obviously, relationship is very important in our life in every facet, not only in business, but also your family life or your friend life. It really determines how happy you are in life. What's one practical advice you would give for good relationships?
Don't argue with nobody. Not with your employees, not with your spouse, not with your kids, not with your neighbor. Don't argue. Arguing never works.
So in your words, what does argument mean?
Argument means is trying to counter when they come at you, you're trying to make a point, or you're trying to make him wrong, or you're trying to justify what you did. This is all the points of arguments. Instead of trying to find a solution to what they have came to you with. It could be a complaint, it could be a request, it could be a need, or it could be just for nothing. But if you start arguing, it never ends well.
And I think the core of argument, is your ego, right? Your ego, we're trying to hold it down. This is how I see the world. This is what I think is right. And the more I realize, the more that your ego is involved with any aspect of life, the more that it's negative. Ego attracts negativity. And we could talk about this, we could have a really deep conversation, but that's the idea. Just ego attracts negativity. And if you want to clear up your life, really tap into that ego and see whether your ego is involved. And if it is, then layer one is to be conscious of it. And then layer two is just slowly scrape away and remove that ego from that process.
Not every request, not every complaint deserves a comeback. Doesn't deserve a reply. Sometimes you can just hear it and be good with it. And doesn't require every time to respond back to it.
I love that. And you tell me that not just, that's the cool part about mentorship is, a lot of conversations are about business, but also resonates a lot with life, really your relationships, family, kids, financial planning, looking far ahead, being strategic. Again, we're going to explore all of these in detail, and we'll try to have themes for our conversations and see what you guys want to hear about, so I could have these conversations. What does a typical day look like for you? And what is the most typical day for you? Like what day of the week?
Almost every day except Saturday is the same kind.
Yeah, so what does a Wednesday look for you then?
The Wednesday looks just...
What time do you wake up?
Usually before 6. I'm usually at work before 7. And I just follow my schedule. Just like I told you, having a discipline and plan. My assistant lays out my entire day. Doesn't matter if business, personal, anything. I just look it up and I just follow it step by step. Sometimes I even disagree where I'm supposed to go or who I'm supposed to talk to. But again, having a discipline, she laid it out, I'm following it because I gave her the authority to lay it out.
Right. But something we're going to clarify is that's also based on your rules. Something I think I've been trying to push you to do is to create those rules for yourself and those boundaries. But obviously, you can't take meetings at all times. You can't take multiple 10 meetings a day. So what are those rules that you've been setting in place for your schedule?
The rules is that since I start so early, anything after like a 2 or 3, I don't want to be scheduled for. I want to have that freedom to do whatever I think I should be doing or how I want to do it, except following what everybody else thinks I should be doing or where to be. So I basically block those and then I play it out. So I'm not structured after 2 basically, but from 7 a.m. to 2, I'm completely structured. All the Zooms, meetings, events, everything is a schedule. But I learned to block that half a day sort of a thing on my calendar, and it gives me the freedom. And Sundays, few hours with no meetings, no schedules, no nothing, sort of a free fall, where I do all the strategizing. It gets me to actually think, not be reacting to the events or meetings or calls or whatever, is mine. So I can do a strategizing for the Sunday.
What do you call it? Is it strategy time for you? Like mentally meaning you?
It's completely strategy. I don't intend to get any work done, any documents done, anything like that. Just sort of thinking outside the box. It's like a think tank situation. Sometimes I have a couple of people over to just think about things and lay out the plans and so forth, but nothing task-oriented.
And that's what my Thursday is. That went out. Basically, my Thursdays are coming into the office, Hamid has a big giant office building over, and then we have a couple offices in this building. And what I do mentally, I say I basically have until 10 a.m. to focus on my work. I usually have about 25 to 35 things on my to-do list. So in that 2 hours, talk about like limiting your time. In that 2 hours is pretty much as much work that anybody can do in multiple days. But I do it because I only have 2 hours. So and the reason why I do it is so that when I get here, I'm completely clear that I'm nothing that I have to do besides being in the moment. And first thing I do, maybe with our team members, just being in the moment, talking, conversating. And then the last 4 or 5 hours is just us pretty much just hanging out, talking, strategizing. And a lot of people I feel like are missing this thinking time. And that really is a secret sauce, I think, to growth, is to have that separated time that you're able to dedicate to just think. And that's where we obviously get our best ideas. And from that, I go home with 15, 20 other things I got to do based on what we talked about. And then the cycle, we basically, the next week we get updates and continue like brainstorming. So yeah, this was our first episode, Hamid. Absolutely. Welcome again to the That Is Better Than Perfect show. Everything based on this, everything we do, by the way, is for me, it is based on data. Data and our clients. We listen to our clients. That's how we actually one of the questions is where do we learn from? So we want your feedback. So first of all, if you enjoyed this video, give this video a like and also comment below. What would you like? What topics would you love to be able to hear us talk about? And yeah, this will grow and blossom to be a really good strategy time and also for you guys to get value.